Nearly on. Okay, the live stream's up and running. I think we're good to go. Fantastic. I'm gonna not allow people to unmute themselves or start their videos. Um, but you will be able to use the chat, and obviously Efwa has posted the link for you to ask questions as well during the session. But this session is all about how you can apply for a Code of Black Females bootcamp, but also be successful with it. I'm going to start recording as well so that we've got the recorder available to people. So, applying for a Code of Black Females Bootcamp, I know that some of you already have, which is really, really good to hear. Some of you may be through the process, some of you may be interested in applying, but this is a great way to find out more about how to apply for our boot camps and how to be successful with your applications as well. Since we've started running these sessions, we have seen an increase in the quality of applications that come through, which is fantastic. It does make it harder for us to make decisions as to who to put on courses, but we have had some fantastic applications come in. So thank you for attending the sessions, and we hope that you can use this to get the most out of how to apply successfully. For those of you who don't know about Code in Black Females or who haven't seen all elements of what we do, we were set up in 2017 with the view of increasing the representation of Black women in tech. So I set it up back in 2017 because I really wanted to meet other Black women who were in tech, who are working in similar roles to myself. And through that, we've actually grown to a community of 20,000 people all around the world, from entry level right through to experienced people as well. People who may be in leadership, people who may be on board level too. All those people are now in the community. And we do a range of activities focusing on events, mentor programs. We do a lot of training, and we do work to get people into jobs. So if you are ever looking for a role, we do have our job board available, which I'll mention, that you could use to find out more about other opportunities that could be available as well. So a quick overview of our journey at Code of Black Females, what we've been doing. So as I said, we started in 2017. That's when we launched. And we did a few events. We went on to do a few more, and we launched our job board in 2018. Over the next few years, what we then went on to do was start our mentor programs, gain new partnerships, and we launched our first boot camp in 2020, where 2021 we actually saw 80% of the people that we trained get new roles, get their first roles in tech, get new roles as well in the tech industry. We started getting our first global members then as well. 2022, we actually launched two new boot camps, so our Return to Tech and AWS Restart Bootcamp, and we launched our CBF Bristol chapter as well, where we do a lot of our boot camps and we run a range of events there. We actually have one running this evening in Bristol, and we have a cohort running there at the moment as well. So over the last couple of years, we've launched our Entry to Tech bootcamp. We're on to our fourth cohort now, I believe, of Entry to Tech, and we've seen people move into fantastic new roles across a range of organizations and industry as well. And this year, we hope to launch our machine learning bootcamp. So we've been very busy over the last few years, and we hope that through the activities that we've been running, you've had all the opportunities to really develop your skills and grow your network as well through Code in Black Females. So the section that I'm really going to focus on and elaborate on is the work that we do in our boot camps. So as I said, we have been doing boot camps since 2020, and the boot camps that we have available currently are AWS Restart, Entry to Tech, and Return to Tech. We've trained people in over 20 cohorts now since we started delivering boot camps, and over 600 people have gained some fantastic opportunities with us as well. As a high level, the bootcamp application process is that you'll submit an application form, you'll then do your technical assessment and submit a screening video. And I'll go into more detail about that shortly. So to dive into some of the boot camps that we have available at the moment, and like I said, we are launching a machine learning boot camp at the end of the year, alongside bringing back our full stack development boot camp as well. But with the AWS Restart Bootcamp, if you're interested in that one, that is there for you to learn about cloud computing, operating system, security, networking, Python, and obviously AWS cloud services. The sorts of roles that you'll look at if you do that sort of course could be technical support, could be cloud engineer, DevOps, that sort of thing is what you'd be looking at with AWS Restart. The eligibility for that course, there's no technical eligibility, but we do look for people who can really express that they do have an interest in technology. So you may have done short courses before, you may have done short courses, you may have attended lots of conferences, you may have built some projects on your own as well, but you don't have to have worked in tech or anything like that in the past. As an outcome, you will get the AWS Cloud Practitioner certification, and you should be ready to work in the tech industry as well. Our next cohort will be kicking off in September for AWS Restart. Entry to Tech is our software engineering bootcamp. So on that particular course, you will cover software engineering, software development with Java, and alongside that, do some software design, look at APIs, and do some test-driven development as well, I believe, on that course too. The eligibility for that particular course is also, you don't need a technical background, but again, we'll be looking for you to have done maybe a short course online in the past. And you will need to complete a technical assessment to gain entry onto that particular bootcamp. So we do provide you with resources that you can go through, but you will be doing a technical assessment. So an interest in tech alongside having done maybe a short course online would be really beneficial for entry to tech. As an outcome that you'll get from this, you'll have started to build up your GitHub portfolio or adding to it if you already have one. You'll be able to build applications, you'll understand a bit of DevOps as well, and you may have worked with a team. So you're all put in teams, you'll do some test-driven development and work alongside other people on the cohort that you're in for entry to tech. The next cohort, so it does say May there, the May cohort has now started. So the next cohorts will be June and September we're looking at for entry to tech. So we're still looking at applications to come in. June will have a particular focus on people based in the west of England. So Bristol, Bath, Somerset, Gloucestershire, they're the key areas really for entry to tech that we'll be looking at for the June cohort, with more areas opening up later on in the year. And then our other bootcamp is Return to Tech, which currently looks at full stack development or AWS Restart or software design. And with those topics, you'll then also cover technical architectural leadership. For our Return to Tech bootcamp, we're looking for people that do already have some technical skills working hands-on in the industry. So you will need to have been perhaps a software developer before, maybe you've worked as a technical architect, but you've been coding, and maybe you've had a career break, or you're currently in the industry working as a software developer, and you really want some support in progressing up to that next level. So for the Return to Tech bootcamp, you will need to have had some prior experience in tech. As an outcome, again, you will have an ability to continue to build applications, and you'll also be working on your leadership skills as well. So there's some of the key outcomes. The next cohort was due to start in May, but it's actually been postponed, and we'll provide a new start date. Once we've had that confirmed. So how to apply? As I mentioned, we always start with our application form. So you'll click on Apply Today at the top of one of the application pages, and that will take you to the bottom where the application form is for that bootcamp. Scrolling through the page, you will find all the information about the bootcamps that we run, about how they work, about what you'll learn, about the FAQs that we may have as well. And with the application form, there's a lot of questions to really get to know you, some of your demographics, your background. But what we're really looking for in the longer form questions in your personal statement are the motivations for doing the bootcamp, your experience, what learning have you done in the past, and any additional background information as well that you can provide. And that's because we want to know that your motivations align with the offerings of the bootcamp as well. Obviously, we do have ChatGPT available that is out there that you can use, but we prefer it if you don't use ChatGPT with your applications, if possible, mainly because it creates a very long set of paragraphs, which is great, but we'd actually rather just see the bullet points or the prompt that you would have put into ChatGPT, and then we get to meet you and find out a bit more about your background. rather than the generated outcome from one of those online tools. So no need to use something like ChatGPT. Feel free to just complete the application in shorter sentences, and that's absolutely fine. Do let us know as well if you have done courses in the past. Don't skim over it. Do give us that information, because if you've done lots and lots of courses before, that could work in your favor for getting onto one of the boot camps, because it shows that you've continuously been trying to develop your skills over time. If you've worked in tech before and you're applying for our returners boot camp, again, make sure that you let us know about the work that you've done. So if you worked as if you didn't work in necessarily a hands-on position, maybe you'll explain more about how you would be relevant to going into a senior software engineering position on completion. What did you actually cover when you were working in your last role as well? So do elaborate on all of that when you fill out the application form. We then have the technical assessment. So when you apply, you will actually be sent an email if you're successful with that first stage, which outlines everything that you need to do to continue your application. The first thing that will be there will be the technical assessment, followed by the screening call. So when you see the technical assessment, you'll want to click the link in the email so that you can go through to that. And alongside the link to the technical assessment, there's also a huge list of resources that you could use, a video explaining how to approach technical assessment, all of which will help you with actually applying your skills when you go on to do it. So the video that you can see on the screen playing is really what that platform looks like. It's very small at the moment. But if you look at the video, the recording that's in the email that you're sent, you'll see a full view of how to use the platform with an explanation of really how to approach those problems as well. Once you're in the test, you'll actually see on the left-hand side, there's a panel where you can Google. So do use that to Google any queries that you might have about how to approach technical assessment. Maybe you want to know how to do loops in JavaScript. Maybe you want to know how to use an array in Python, something like that. So use that search box to really get an understanding of learning some additional skills. We recommend that once you're in the test and you see those responses come up, go down to the responses that come through from MDN or W3 schools, because they will give you an explanation of a topic alongside how you can approach it. And it will also let you run and test code in the environment that you end up in as well, if you go to those resources. So that's what I'd recommend. Do give yourself time to really approach an attempt to the assessment. So I would say, put aside maybe half an hour to an hour, sit down and really have a go at approaching the assessment. Oh, I've gone back a little bit. We do get quite a few people who say, look, I've not done any tech before. It's actually quite hard for me to try and do the assessment. But one thing that we want you to have a go at is actually sitting down and learning something and then applying your knowledge in that environment. Because you're going to have to do that over and over and over again on the boot camp as well. So I would definitely, give yourself some time. You may need to do a bit of learning and then do the technical assessment. And we'll look at what you've put together. We'll look at the code you've done. We'll look at how you've approached it as well. And the reason that I mentioned the fact that we'll be looking at that is do add some of the comments, add comments as to how you're approaching it and what you're actually doing in your technical assessment. There's actually a button as well on the right-hand side. So I don't know how well you can see this, probably not very well at all. But on the right-hand panel, so the left-hand panel is the question, middle panel is where you write your code. On the right-hand panel is where you actually see how you can submit your code and run the code and run a test. So do click on run code, click on run test cases, and make sure that your code works before you submit it. Because if it works for you, it's more likely to work for us as well on the other side. So I would definitely have a go at submitting that before you then submit it to us. And then the final thing you'll have to do is the screening video. So once you go into your application, your email that you receive once you've applied, there will be a button where you can submit your screening video if you scroll down that email. We have said that, up to 15 minutes It doesn't need to take 15 minutes when you do your screening video, but up to 15 minutes would be great. The shorter, the better. If you can answer all of the questions that we provide in a shorter amount of time, that's absolutely fine as well. Try to make sure that you do attempt to answer all the questions that we've outlined. So we have put the questions have been added in both the email and in a video that's provided in the email that you receive as well. So make sure that you look at the questions and answer those in your screening video before you submit it. If you are worried that you don't have the right tools to create a video, recording yourself on your phone, absolutely fine. Or what I've done a lot of the time is I go onto Zoom, record a video there, and then submit it that way as well. So that's absolutely fine if you want to use those sorts of tools to submit your video. It doesn't have to have great production value or anything like that, so do not worry about it. If you don't currently have a CV, the form that you'll use to submit your screening video does include information about how to download a CV from LinkedIn. What I would say though is if you've done anything technical, if you've been doing any courses, anything educational, anything like that, make it tech relevant, add it onto your CV so that we can see that when we do review that as well. Sometimes we have companies that will come to us and see who could potentially be available to hire. So we'll be looking at the CVs sometimes that could then be used to get you jobs on completion as well. So make sure that your CV is up to scratch for showing your technical skills and what you've done technically before you submit them too. So what I want to do now that you know the application process, and as we mentioned at the beginning, do use the link that F was provided to add your questions, because we're going to be going through the questions at the end, but we're only going to be answering questions on Slido. So any questions that are put in the chat, we won't be answering today. So only questions that have been added in Slido. If there's a question that's already there that is relevant to you, you can actually vote on it as well. So upvote them and we'll answer them in order of questions that have been voted on. So I know the chat's been posted the link's been posted a few times for Slido, which is where you can ask your questions as well. So what I wanted to run through now was some of the success stories that we've had from our boot camps. So we've been running boot camps, like I said, for the last few years. And we do have some success stories, which are great to hear about for people that have been through our programs as well. So firstly, we have the fantastic Colleen, who joined Code and Black Females, the Code and Black Females community as a head receptionist back in 2023, so last year. She came to some of our events, and that's where she found out about the Entry to Tech Bootcamp. Over a 24-week period, she went through that bootcamp. There were some hard times, there were some good times, but she got through and completed the bootcamp at the beginning of this year and has just started a role at UBS as a software engineer. So that's somebody who's gone through one of our bootcamps and has landed a new role in tech, her first role in tech, in fact. We then have Brittany, who again joined us a couple of years ago, went through one of our boot camps and successfully transitioned her career as well. So she joined Code and Black Females in 2022, and she was a clinic coordinator, I think working at the NHS. So she joined the community, attended some of the events, and then applied for AWS Restart and was successful with that. So from 2023, she started that, she completed it, gained her certification, attended more of our events, including our Careers Week, our Careers Fair, and then has joined this year, joined a company called Principal One as a consultant. So again, another fantastic success story from somebody who has been through one of our programs and gained a fantastic position on completion. We then also have Faith. So Faith joined Code and Black Females as somebody who was experienced in tech. So she was working as a DevOps engineer. She joined us in 2022, again, attended events, came to our workshops, got really involved in the community. She found out about Return to Tech at a time when she was looking at how she could progress in her career. So she was obviously already working in tech, she was already doing fantastically, but wanted to really progress to that next level. So she started that bootcamp last year and completed it, gained a range of certifications, and it was very intense, but gained a lot. And at the end of that, has joined this year, she's joined BAE Systems Digital Intelligence as a senior consultant. So she went from DevOps engineer to senior consultant through going through that boot camp as well. So it's had a really fantastic outcome. The reason we share these stories is to show you that it's possible, that if you go through these programs, there are positive outcomes that can happen once you complete our boot camps. So has anybody got any questions? And I've been adding them in Slido. We are right on time for questions. So Edward, do we have any questions that people have for us?
Yes, we do. Oh, can you hear me? Hi. Awesome.
I can. Yeah.
Yes, you do. If anybody wants to vote on the questions right now, they can. And I'll be reading it from the top. So the first question we have is to do with I love how slow my PC is. Hang on a second. I applied for entry to tech on the 13th of Sorry. I applied for entry to tech on the 13th of May. I haven't heard anything back, so I'm assuming I was not successful. Will I be considered for other cohorts?
So we should have sent an email out to people who have been accepted, but also to people who have been unsuccessful gaining a spot on that particular cohort. The answer is yes. You will be considered for other cohorts if you haven't been rejected. So it could be that you haven't been reviewed yet because we've not had a chance to review those questions, the application yet. If it came in after we'd selected people for the last cohort. But what I would say is you will be put forward for other cohorts if your application is successful with us, if that makes sense. Great, thank you.
Awesome. So this is a similar question. How long does it take to hear back after one has applied for the bootcamp?
So we review applications on an ongoing basis. What we tend to do is when we know we have a range of cohorts coming up, we will waitlist you. And then after you've been waitlisted, once we have cohorts that are ready for you to go on to, we'll then let you know when you've been allocated. The waitlisting should happen typically within 3 weeks of applying. And then after that point, it depends really on when the next cohort is starting as to when you'll hear the next bit of information. So I would say keep an eye on the Coding Black Females website. So on the Entry to Tech, AWS Restart, and Return to Tech pages, because that has information of the next start dates for all the cohorts.
Okay, so and is the Entry to Tech open for people who are not in the west of England or AWS? So Entry to Tech or AWS, is it open for people who are not in the west of England?
It is open for people who aren't in the west of England. At the moment, we have the west of England funding confirmed, so we know that we'll be kicking that off for Entry to Tech. We're hoping to have other regions confirmed as well. We can put you on the Entry to Tech Bootcamp. If you're not based in the west of England, but you're accepted onto the west of England cohort, there is an expectation that you will then apply for roles in that area because that's where the funding comes from. So you can apply. We can't guarantee you a space if you're not based in the location, especially if you're not willing to take a role in that location.
Right, awesome. Can you apply for more than one bootcamp? For example, can you apply for AWS and Entry to Tech?
Absolutely. Apply for as many as you like. If we notice that you've applied for one and we think you'd be better for something else, sometimes we'll suggest you for another cohort anyway, or another course anyway. But yes, you're more than welcome to apply for more than one bootcamp.
Okay, next question. My application is shortlisted for Entry to Tech. The cohort begins on the 14th of May. I want to know what's the possibility for employability? So I want to know what kind of job prospects maybe after.
Okay, so if you're on the bootcamp that's starting next week, so the UBS cohort, the possibility for jobs really depends on whether you're successful in applying for a job with UBS, which is our partner at the end. So they'll support you throughout the bootcamp. You then have to go through a bit of an interview with them to secure a position with them on completion. So for employability on that, it's basically as well as you do on the bootcamp, as well as you put yourself across to UBS, is the likelihood of you getting a role. If you go onto one of our cohorts that are more broad, so we don't have a particular partner involved, employability again is really based on, we've seen the most success come from people who have really taken their own career into their hands and do a lot of applications on their own as well. So we'll do the bit that we can, but you really have to put a lot of time in yourself to apply for jobs if you really want to be successful in gaining a role after the bootcamp.
Would one get feedback? Oh, I love that. Would one get feedback if they've been unsuccessful in joining a boot camp?
If people request feedback, we will do our best to apply to send that over to you. We tend to not provide feedback to everybody because we have a lot of applications that come in. So if you're unsuccessful and you really want feedback, do get in contact and we'll do our best to reply to you and give you that feedback. It won't necessarily be immediate because we're a small team and we have a lot of people to review. But if you request it, we will endeavour to get back to you with that feedback.
Okay, so this is slightly an aside. Some next questions about the Google Career Certificates, and are the applications still open for them?
Yeah, absolutely. So for Google Career Certificates, the process for that is actually a lot more straightforward. You just go in and say that you want to do a Google Career Certificate, and then you'll be sent the link to the Google Career Certificates, and that's it. So you don't have to go through an application form or a screening video or a technical assessment. You have to say that you'd like to do it. If you don't start doing the course, because we only have 500 spaces available for Google Career Certificates in a year, so every year we get 500 licenses, so we kick people off if they're inactive on the platform so that we can actually let other people get on. And I think we judge inactivity by 3 months. So 3 months of inactivity will replace you with somebody else. So it is still open for applications. It's open all the time. You just fill it out and get a new spot. I know people that have recently just signed up and they're now doing the data course and they're doing other courses as well. So absolutely get involved and sign up for the Google Career Certificates. I've seen great people have great outcomes from that.
Okay, awesome. Next question. I am in Ghana. I wish I was in Ghana. I'm in Ghana. Is this opportunity available to me as well? Can I apply as well?
So at the moment, we do not have boot camps funded for people outside of the UK and outside of the US. So at the moment, the only 2 locations that we're covering with our funding is UK and US. What we are saying to people is please still apply because it helps us to know where we have the interest. And that's where we will then endeavour to go out and find new funding so that we can deliver boot camps in those areas. So we know that we have a lot of applications, for example, from Nigeria, South Africa. We do see Ghana come up a lot as well. We also get Kenya and Uganda. Effort is Ghana, so she's very excited, I think. So we're doing everything we can to try and get funding in those areas so that we can deliver. We're also looking at what we could do to fund it at Coding Black Females as well, if we run those courses. So I would say still apply and register interest for courses when we run them, because then as soon as we get that funding available, we can then deliver the courses. The same thing happened with the US. So we noticed that we had a lot of applications coming in from the US. We then were able to go out and say, look, we've got a huge amount of demand here. Can we find a funder to support the work that we're doing? And then everybody who'd previously been rejected, who'd applied from the US, it was now able to complete their applications. So definitely still apply. And once we're able to open up to you, we will do our best to do so.
Okay, awesome. And I think you kind of answered this, but it bears saying again, I suppose. When will AWS Restart commence?
AWS Restart is September. So AWS Restart and Entry to Tech will both be kicking off in September, but we also have another cohort for Entry to Tech starting in June as well. Okay.
Great questions. Last question. Can I make amendments to my application once I have applied?
To your main application, no. So what we do see some people do is they may email us and say, by the way, I noticed that I missed out this really important thing that I did in my life. Can I add that in? Yeah, that's fine. You're welcome to email us and let us know if you'd like to make it an addition. We can't always do it, but if you do and you get a response from us, then we probably will have added that in for you. What I would recommend is if you want to make a change, good thing you could do is submit a screening video with that update. because that will get added into your application. You can submit 2 screening videos if you want. We'll have to watch both of them, but they can have slightly different information in them, and that means that that's another way of getting your information across to us. And yeah, I would say that's it. So submit it in your screening video or send us an email if there's a change that you want to make. But once it's in, and you can't go back and change it.
Perfect. All questions answered.
Lovely. I think we have another one.
Hey, here we go. How long after the video will you hear back?
How long after the video? So we typically aim to get back to people within 3 weeks, and that's to say whether or not you've been waitlisted or rejected. And then after you've been waitlisted, you're looking at at the moment a bit of an unknown period of time whilst we're waiting to find out which funding pots are available to us to deliver the boot camps. So I can't give you a more definitive answer than that, but we're doing everything we can to review regularly so that we can at least tell you if you've been shortlisted or rejected. Okay.
Perfect. Wow.
Well, I think we got through everything in 35 minutes, which is a record for us.
Record.
A record. Normally we go just over an hour. We hope you found it useful, everybody. We're always here to answer your questions. You can send us emails, like emails to the Academy channel, not to my inbox. Send to my inbox, you're not going to get a response. But we do, if you send an email to academy@codingblackfemales.com, we'll be able to get back to you there. That's your best bet, by the way, of getting a response. If you contact us on social media, they're probably going to direct you to the Academy inbox. So you want to go to the Academy inbox and we will then get back to you as well.
There's actually one last question from Samina. She's asking, is it possible to reach either of you on the Slack channel as well related to the workshop?
We are both on Slack, yes, but you're best off asking the question here, because once we're gone, there's no guarantee that we'll get back to you quickly. If it's a question that you'd rather ask privately, I'm happy to stay on for a few minutes after the call. But if you want to reach out to us on Slack, I can't. It's very hard to get back to you on Slack. There's thousands of people in Slack, so we get a lot of messages, and we can't always get back to you very quickly. How to access the slides? You want these slides from this session?
Sorry.
Okay, cool. So we can send these slides out to you after the session so that you can take a look and have a look in your own time.
I mean, this session is also recorded, so we could also send you a link to the video if you want to watch it again.
Yeah, if you go to I'll put the link to it in the chat, but we are actually live at the moment. Video, the session will be available here, so that you can actually watch it on YouTube after the session anyway. So feel free to head there rather than the slides.
Another question came in. I'm going to shut the questions down after this, but keep on asking for while I read this question out. Is the interview more for personality to see if you are a fit? Any key things to mention?
That's a really good question, actually.
It is a really good question.
Yeah. So with the interview or the screening video, there's a few things that we're looking for. So one thing is obviously employability is one of the key reasons that we run these boot camps, right? So I would say that when you are recording a video, one thing that we're looking for is communication. So what are your communication skills like? How do you explain your background and things like that? So we're looking at things like that. We're looking at it, I would say relatively loosely, but it's an element of what we look for. In the video, we'd like you to talk us through, more of your background. Where did your tech interest come from? Which might be a thing that would be harder to write in your application and easier to really talk about. So for example, for me, I'd be like, I first got my first passion for tech when I was 10 years old and I started coding and it was fantastic. And then I did this code and I built this project and I did this course online. So you can really talk about the things that you've actually been involved in and the actual coding that you've done in the past and what you're interested in. we'd also like to hear about the sort of industries you want to work with. So you could be currently working as a lawyer and you're like, I really want to figure out more about legal tech. I just noticed that as a lawyer, all the systems that we use are really bad. Or I don't know, I'm sure lawyers have great systems, but maybe you don't like the systems. And you want to learn tech because you want to make those systems better. So maybe talk about how you would improve an industry that you work in. So you could talk about the industries that you're interested in, but then how would you use tech within that? So we're looking at things like that, really. So we're looking at not necessarily your personality, but we want to see and understand your passion for technology. I will say that one person recorded as a movie. So she gave us a fantastic movie, and you don't have to do that, but it did make the whole application process a lot more interesting getting to watch her movie. So you're welcome to make it as fun as
We're
you
not
want.
judging and comparing you to that, but it was really cool.
It was really cool. We're not judging it. We're definitely not comparing it to her at all, but it was fantastic. So if you want to make it more interesting or you know relay it back to something else, you're more than welcome to. If you struggle with talking at a screen without guidance, you can make a presentation or something if that would help you. I really struggle to just talk without any bullet points. So I would probably do it with slides to help my flow. So if you want to do that sort of thing, that's fine. Some people I see reading a script, and that's okay as well. We're looking at what you say, not necessarily how you say it. So you don't have to be screaming and shouting excitedly about tech. But we do want to understand that you have a passion for technology.
I mean, that could be entertaining, but still.
It would be kind of cool. Very cool. I don't know if there's anything that you look for particularly ever. What makes the video stand out for you?
Yeah, I think it's explaining what your passion for tech is and what you're hoping to get out of the course, really. I think those are the key parts because it's about whether you're fit for the course as well and whether it's the right thing for you or whether we can even suggest other paths for you to take along in CBF. So it's really understanding what your motivations are for me when I'm reviewing some of these videos.
Awesome. Yeah, same for me. Thank you. Oh, somebody asked for the username to reach us on Slack. So, Mina, your best bet is sending us an email, I would say, and we're going to be sending the slides out separately. So there's no need to contact us on Slack because you probably won't get a response. Sorry. Okay.
Okay.
Well,
Awesome.
thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
I don't know if we had anybody watching on YouTube, actually. I feel bad they didn't. Oh, we do have a question from somebody on YouTube, which I did not see. Somebody has asked if they're still able to apply for the bootcamp now. The answer is yes, you are still able to apply for bootcamps. We do not close our applications, so you can always apply, and that's absolutely fine. So yes, just apply and we're happy to review your application for an upcoming cohort. The slides, we won't be sending the slides out on Slack, we'll be sending them via email. So if you signed up for this event, we'll send the slides to you via email alongside the recording. Okay.
Awesome.
Any more questions that come in, send us an email and we will then get back to you and answer those questions for you. And at least if you email us at academy@codingblackfemales.com, there are lots of people who check that inbox. So you're more likely to get a response than contacting either of us directly. But thank you very much. Oh, a question that we do get a lot, by the way, that no one's asked is whether men can apply and people who aren't Black. Absolutely, we are allowed to have applications that come in from anybody, and depending on the level of applications and the quality of their application as well, we're happy to review that. So we're happy to receive applications from people from all backgrounds. But that's everything. Thank you very much. Have a lovely rest of your Thursday, everybody. Take good care. Bye.